Good afternoon from Brussels. Thank you for joining me for yet another Facebook live stream. This is where I take on the questions, normally from a topic that I've suggested I think is of relevance. But today I'm going to break ranks just for a few minutes, if you don't mind, because there is always the accusation against politicians that we won't answer, we won't respond to some of the more difficult questions. Well, I've actually filleted for the very, very first time the pages of questions that have come in. And I'm going to spend a few minutes dealing with what I call the more unpleasant, the more obnoxious, the ones that are quite frankly in some instances insulting, but to make a point that I'm not one of those that is prepared to duck or walk away from them. First one though, from Mr. Christopher George Black. You've accused me, Mr. Black, of ignoring your questions about Northern Ireland. Well, we've gone back through all of the Facebook live streams and we can't find anything from you. But what you could do, Mr. Black, is you could email me on diane.james@Europal address, and you can put all of those questions there and I will respond to them, and then we can broadcast them and we can then show your questions and my responses. By the way, the Northern Ireland issue, I think, is very much one that the EU is manufacturing as a convenience to block Brexit happening. Dee Warren, you've actually asked me, so what are you actually achieving as an independent, Diane? Who are you accountable to for results? Well, Dee, I'm accountable, as are the other 9 MEPs that represent the southeast region of the United Kingdom, for delivering Brexit. Because Brexit is what the referendum showed was what the UK population wanted. We wanted to walk away from European Union membership. Now, I spend my time here in Brussels and Strasbourg attending either voting sessions, and I'm here for 2 days of voting in Brussels on this particular occasion. And I also come to Brussels or Strasbourg when there is what is called the Constitution Committee, AFCO, committee meetings, because I happen to be a member of that committee, and it is the key committee on Brexit at the moment. And a fellow member is Guy Verhofstadt, and I often have to listen to his absolute nonsense in terms of his feedback to the MEPs, often misleading as to what is happening with Brexit news. So there you are. I hope you'll understand what I believe is my mandate. Mick Took, you said MEP, is that double bubble pay rise? Well, Mick, if you'd like to go on my declaration of interest, you will find that I don't take a salary or income from anything other than that being an MEP. I'm focused on delivering MEP Brexit contribution. That means voting on Brexit matters, voting on issues that relate to the ongoing membership the United Kingdom will have as the European Union, and standing up for the interests of 17.4 million people in the United Kingdom that voted to leave, but also giving credence to those that voted to remain when what they've got to put forward is both sensible for the future of the United Kingdom. Now, Luke, you said something along the lines of your party is doomed, get ready for the biggest defeat in your party's history. I actually don't know what you're referring to, Luke, but if I can, I would like to point out that I'm not a member of any political party currently, and I have no intention of going back to any political party, and certainly not for joining the Conservatives, who are badly letting down the United Kingdom population that voted for Brexit. Gary John Phoenix, you said MEPs are as corrupt as the House of Lords. No, they aren't. The corruption in the House of Lords is one that I'm ashamed of. When you have individuals in the House of Lords who, because they were previously European Union commissioners, they held high office in the European Council, Commission, or in offices administration here, when they are still voting on Brexit matters, that to me is what is corruption. Carl Coop, you said, why were you such a lazy MEP before Brexit, barking mad? I don't know quite where you got your information from, Carl, but you will find that I've only been an MEP since 2014, that my voting record is in the high, very high numbers, and that my membership and voting in committee is equally high. So I don't know where you get your figures from, but may I suggest you just have a look at them and next time submit a nice, accurate and pleasant question. And James Johnson, Diane, you said, are you embarrassed taking your salary and pension and expenses from an employer you have no faith in? James, back in 2014, UKIP, a political party that I was then a member of, took 24 of the 73 seats allocated to the United Kingdom in terms of European Union membership. That clearly showed that voters in the South East wanted representation from Brexit-supporting MEPs. So quite frankly, I'm delivering exactly the mandate I was given back in 2014. What is wrong is when there are individuals in other United Kingdom political parties who stood and are part of a party that held a general election manifesto commitment of Brexit means Brexit, and are actually going against their party's wishes. But just remind you, I'm not alone in terms of being an independent. I have colleagues that are also independents fighting for Brexit, and there are also colleagues, certainly within the Tory contingent here in the European Union Parliament, that are standing up for Brexit as well. The real offenders are those United Kingdom MEPs who are siding with the European Union to block Brexit. There you go. There's some of the more, shall we say, unusual, unpleasant, but that's the what life is like at being an MEP. Let's go on, though, to this whole Brexit and immigration control question, this whole issue. And of course, it's come to a real forefront in the last few weeks, not only because of the customs union, but the Northern Ireland issue, but latterly with the Windrush scandal and some of the other aspects internally with the Home Office in the United Kingdom. Hilary, you've asked me, what are your views on customs union and illegal immigrants, please? Customs union. If Mrs May gets her way, I'm on the side of Rees-Mogg. I think it's an absolutely ridiculous proposal that she seems she can carry through. We are not here to be effectively the tax collector for the European Union, and we should not be tied into membership as a result. Illegal immigrants. I am very, very horrified at the concept that there is over 1 million illegal immigrants in the United Kingdom. I don't believe in an amnesty, but what I would like to see and hear is the freedom for those individuals to come forward, declare their illegal status, and if they can actually prove that they can contribute to the economy, contribute to the society that the United Kingdom has, then they can be judged on an individual basis and given leave to stay and become United Kingdom citizens. If, however, there are a lot out there that don't fulfil those criteria, then I would like to see them returned to their country of origin and then legally, absolutely legally apply to come to the United Kingdom to work, to contribute and to be part of our society. And that should apply to anybody regardless of their country of origin. Ken Gay, you've asked what Brexit and what immigration controls. Well, the red line supposedly from Theresa May was that we would get back control of immigration policy, that we would take back control in terms of our border staff, our border mechanism, and that we would ultimately have a new immigration policy in the United Kingdom. Now, if you've been checking and following what's been portrayed in the United Kingdom media and press, you will know that the report that could deliver exactly that has been delayed. And we're in an unfortunate situation at the moment where nobody, other than probably Theresa May and a close cohort and some individuals within the Home Office, actually know what that new immigration policy might be. But there are some real problems beginning to surface, not least what Theresa May is prepared to concede in terms of immigration policy and certainly allowing continuing free access for European Union citizens still living in the European continent to come to the United Kingdom during the transition phase and potentially past that. So at the moment, from my point of view, Brexit and immigration control, it's not even in the same ballpark. Andrew Ellis, you've asked a very good question. You've said, how would you feel if you thought you were living in the United Kingdom entirely legally? You'd worked hard for the NHS, you'd raised a family, then in your 60s you're denied cancer treatment when you needed it most. You're handcuffed and then you're sent to a detention centre. I can only think, Andrew, that you've cited a real example. And what you cited is absolutely abhorrent, and I wouldn't agree with it at all. But we now know the failings within the Home Office. We now know that they were completely and utterly target-driven, and that nobody seemed to have any form of empathy for individuals who, for whatever reason, still hadn't registered their legal entitlement to stay, live and whatever in the United Kingdom. A couple of people, Alan Armistead, I hope I've got your surname correct, and Tim Riley, you've both cited the 1995 Barcelona Declaration. And you've asked why, if that was agreed all those years ago, 1995 obviously, why is it that Britain cannot control its immigration policy? Well, can I first make a couple of points? One, Libya was not a signatory to that particular declaration. Libya currently is the major exit point for migrants coming into the European Union and ultimately getting to the United Kingdom illegally. So we have a system, of course, that is now over a decade old, and equally it's something that's been superseded by the big migrant crisis coming out of Syria, from Libya, from Egypt, other destabilised countries. So from my point of view, the Barcelona Agreement of all those years ago actually is meaningless and doesn't reflect reality currently. Helen, you've asked me, why is the government so slow to deport those here legally? And what about doing something about the rights of the benefits for the UK indigenous population you've put? One of the big problems of the human rights legislation is that, as we well know, even serial criminals, individuals who've been convicted of the most heinous crimes, they can use that legislation to actually appeal against being deported. What I really want to see is, if we're going to have an immigration policy, that it's coupled with human rights legislation to ensure that individuals don't keep using that mechanism to escape justice and escape being expelled rightfully from the United Kingdom. Valerie, you've asked probably the question that's on everybody's lips at the moment. I'm going to end with this one. You said, my question is simple. Are we leaving the customs union and the single market, and are we going to end free movement? Well, the Brexit War Cabinet's meeting today, we're going to have to wait to hear the news from that. My own feeling is that we are going to be tied into a degree of customs union. That's very bad news. Ultimately, that will then mean that the Remainers in the House of Lords and the Remainers in the House of Commons will sense a win. They will then go on to try and keep us in the single market. That means ultimately we don't leave Brexit. And of course, ultimately, that means we do not end free movement or the jurisdiction of the European Court of Human Rights or the jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice. Thank you for joining me from Brussels. Await the next face stream. And can I just finish by saying, Christopher, George, Black, if you want answers to your questions on Northern Ireland, send them in an email and we'll deal with them that way. Thank you again. Bye for now.